When looking at this drawing, it should be pretty obvious that this is different in really only one way, in the fact that we have now decimals versus fractions. So the really important part of this video is to make sure that you guys know to open up the correct aproto, which is going to be aprotodecimal, not aprotofractional. This is going to be hopefully a fairly easy video for you guys to get through, because I'm going to go ahead and start at this point. You guys should be able to do all of this on your own, and then after you get to this part, you can go ahead and array. So I'm going to array, and I'm going to select these two circles here and here. That way it goes a little bit faster than having to do it 2 times. I'm going to do polar because I'm going to do this based off an angle. My center point is going to be around the central point of where these larger circles are. And now I have to determine how many items. A lot of students will shout out and say 176 because they see this 176 here. But that 176 is referring to all of these circles, so all the way around and all of the circles in here. So the best thing to do would be to count, and please don't count from here all the way around and do that twice. But if I go, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now students will count to 11 here, but this is really starting over, so then I would count from here and it would be 10 as well. Since I have 1, 2, 3, 4 quadrants, and each quadrant has 10 of the smaller circles, really 20 total, I can go ahead and determine that the number that I want for items is 40. The reason I don't need to do 80 even though I have 2 sets of circles is because I selected both of these to array. Once you get done with this, you can go ahead and hit close array. And I now have to focus on getting my circles in each of these 4 quadrants. So what I have to do is determine where the center point of really one of my first circles is going to go. So if I look at this drawing right here, I'm going to try to find where this circle is. So if I look at the dimensions I'm giving, it says that from the center point of one circle to the center point of another circle, the distance is going to be typically, or for all of these, 0.24. Same thing from the center point here and the center point here. So I can go ahead and assume that up here, this would hold true as well. From the center point of this circle to the center point of this circle is 0.24. So if I want to know how far to go over from my center line, I could just divide that distance in half and get 0.12. The same thing would hold true for this circle to this circle. It's 0.24. So from the center line to the center of this circle would be, what I could do is half of 0.24 and do 0.12. So if I go back into AutoCAD, I can do offset, and I can do 0.12, and I can offset over here and up. Now 0.12. Draw a circle at this intersection. Make sure that you do diameter. And then I can go ahead and put this diameter as 1.25. And now what I can do is go ahead and array. This is going to make life go a lot faster than having to do a lot of copying or a lot of offsetting. So I'm going to do rectangular because I actually want to do columns and rows. So you can see that it's starting at this point and it's going towards the right and it's going up. So I can really only do one quadrant at a time. There's no way for me to get it on this opposite side. So what I want to do is go ahead and change the number of columns. So if I look here, just in this one quadrant, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And the space between is 0.24. So I can go back into AutoCAD and change this to 5. And change this to 0.24. Same thing here, I can change this to 5 and change this to 0.24. And then now this should look a lot more similar to what I want. I can go ahead and hit close array, select this line and this line to delete them because I no longer need those. It is going to be really important that you make sure that this is set to 0.24, 0.24. A lot of students will change the columns and the rows and they forget about the spacing. All I did to bring this back up was just to click on the array. I now want to go ahead and leave it selected and do X enter to explode because I do not need this circle. So if you look at this drawing, we're missing this top circle here. So I went ahead and deleted that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a blue box to just select these circles. And I'm going to use a command that we haven't used in a while, which is mirror. So I'm going to do MI. I need to select where I want to mirror, and I'm going to go ahead and use this vertical center line in order to use as my mirror line. I hit enter, and then now I have half of the drawing for this center part done. I now want to go ahead and select all of these, do MI, and I can go ahead and select this horizontal center line now as my line to mirror. I now have completed this entire drawing very, very quickly by using array and mirror. I have a few more things to talk to you about with dimensioning this, and it really isn't anything different that you would do with a drawing you did an apron or fractional versus apron or decimal, but it's just because of the number of circles and because of the size of the circles that I want to talk about some things. So I'm going to go ahead and change my layer to dimension, go to annotate and select diameter dimension. So sometimes when students try to give me the dimension for this circle, what they do, which is incorrect, is they will sometimes not really look and see where their arrow is pointing. Please make sure that when you are dimensioning that your arrow is pointing to the circle that it's talking about. Here it still is, but it really looks like it's going to that smaller circle. You need to do your best to try to put these at a 45-degree angle, and you should be able to, if you have snap on, pull these out so they are 3/8 of an inch away. You are not going to be able to add all dimensions instead of one quadrant and group them together like you may think is appropriate. It's going to get really, really crowded if you dimension all of the diameter for the circles in here. You may want to use this quadrant and this quadrant. Let me show you something else that is sometimes frustrating for some students, is when they add their linear dimensions here. You can see when I'm trying to select the center point for the circle to get the dimension that my cursor is skipping around. Like, it's literally not allowing me to select this. Even if I zoom in, if I zoom out, I still can't select it. So if this happens to you, and it probably will, if you hit F9 to turn it off, you can very easily select the center points. Then you can always turn snap on once you get done with choosing these center points. Now you can bring this 0.24 inside, but I would suggest not doing that because you're going to add the word typical. So I'm going to type in text for text. If you don't know what 1/8 of an inch is in decimal format, you can still type in 1/8, or if you want to type in 0.125, you can do that. The rotation angle is going to be 0. And then we can type in typical. You will have to add text in a few other locations on this drawing as well. You'll need to add it for this distance going down as well. And then you will have to make sure that you add the times 176 for all of these circles when you add that diameter dimension. So make sure that you include the remainder dimensions. These are not all of them. And then inserting your title block, printing, none of that changes because we're using apron or decimal. Really the only thing that's changed at all when we did this drawing was with typing in the distances or the diameters for our circles. Please make sure that even like when you're doing your center lines, you don't know what 3/8 of an inch is in decimal format. Remember, you can still type in 3/8 just like we typed in the 1/8 for the text size. Everything else should be as normal and as typical as possible when we create our drawing. So finish dimensioning, insert your title block, and then go ahead and print this drawing.